Well. Congratulations. Give yourself a hand. If you're lucky enough to be watching this video, you have been carefully selected to go back in time to Las Vegas during the 90s, but to determine what really happened on the night Tupac was shot and killed. There have been many speculations and theories as to who actually shot him, as well as to who orchestrated the motive for this homicide, but it still remains unsolved to this day. So it's up to you to find the factual conclusions. Now, I'd go myself, but I've been conducting this research all my life, and it's not that I'm scared, I'm just way too old. Now, an undergraduate student like yourself in your early 20s, you're in your prime. You're a perfect candidate. Alright, so I'm going to be sending you back to 96, September 7th. I need you to find out what really happened to Pac that night. You know, this is one of the most notorious unsolved murders of all time, with so many speculations of who actually did it. So I'm giving you the opportunity to try and solve the murder that's been on everyone's mind for what seems like forever. You're going to be researching the suspects of the case prior and after his death. This means observing them from afar and in secret, so you can't get caught. You can't really mess with the past, but you can get the facts. So you gotta figure out what their motives were during those months. Now, if you've done your research, you know there are way too many people that could have been associated with Pac's murder. So for your sake, I've dialed it down to the prime suspects and major figures. Orlando Anderson, a member of the LA Crips, who is seen as the poster boy for who allegedly shot and killed Tupac. But this is still not confirmed, even though there's a lot of proof that he had a motive. Anderson has always blatantly denied these accusations. Sean Diddy Combs, owner and founder of label Bad Boy Records that had an intense rivalry with Death Row Records, the label Pac was signed to during this era. It's well documented as the famous battle between the East Coast and the West Coast, or more recognizably as Tupac versus Biggie, which is why it's an even bigger reason for both of them to be involved. Now, Marion Suge Knight, one of the many founders of Death Row Records, is one of the most controversial suspects in this murder mystery. Although he signed Tupac under his label, he was one of the individuals that benefited the most from his death, releasing multiple posthumous albums that contained unreleased Tupac songs that the label acquired prior to his death. All of the albums that were released after his death were all highly successful, with 7 of them actually going platinum. Also, remember that this is the 90s, so you're gonna have to dress accordingly. I mean, go out and buy a colorful suit or something flashy. It'll fit right in, I promise. And this can be a dangerous mission though, if you get caught in the crossfire. So keep that in mind and just don't get in anyone's way. Now, before we begin the trip, I know I may have gotten you excited for Vegas, but our first stop will be very quick and just west. Don't worry, it'll be a good time though, because I'm talking about West Hollywood. According to the uncle of Orlando Anderson, Keith Davis claims his nephew and him were with Sean Combs in '93 at a Greenblatt's Deli on the Sunset Strip, where Davis says that Combs had told him and his nephew on multiple occasions that he'd give them anything to have Pac and Suge killed, later having Davis request $1 million to get the job done. Now, if you spy on them and find out that this is real, this doesn't mean your mission is over. Because even if Combs is responsible, Suge Knight could also be involved in trying to make profits from Pac. Once you've completed your first objective, I'm going to be beaming you forward in time to the night it all happened. September 7th, 96, Las Vegas, Nevada, at the MGM Grand. This is going to be your most engaging, but hardest day, just due to the amount of events that unfold. But at least you get to begin the evening during the infamous Mike Tyson vs. Bruce Seldon boxing match, where I have purchased you a ticket where you're sitting in view of Suge and Pac so you can keep track of them until the fight is over. Following the end of the fight, closely tail behind Pac, because at the lobby of the MGM Grand, he will get into a fight with Crip member Orlando Anderson, but Orlando will be by himself while Pac will be with his entire crew. After the brawl, follow Orlando to see what his motives are. He's known as the prime suspect for the murder of Pac due to the altercation at the MGM Grand, but you never know, he might have just gone home and slept it off. So, your job includes taking notes of who he then meets up with and where he goes. People including instigators like Sean Combs, or maybe other Crip members he's gathering to get revenge on Tupac, could be huge factors to this mystery. But the main thing you should concentrate on is if he enters the same white Cadillac that pulled up on Pac's car moments before he was shot. By 11 p.m., make sure you're at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Colville Lane in front of the Maxim Hotel. Don't get too close though, because this is where Pac and Suge will be shot at by a white Cadillac in an act of a double homicide drive-by. This is where it's going to get really difficult though, because Suge will then drive off while bleeding out until being stopped by two police officers who will then send them to paramedics. Now, you won't be able to get into the hospital and witness what the conversations between Suge and Pac during those moments, but you must keep an eye on Suge because the following day, he's going to be released from the hospital. This is when I give you access to the building of Death Row Records, because here in the 22nd century, the future is pretty cool. Now here, you'll spend a week disguised as a staff member to listen in on what Suge plans to do with the aftermath of Pac's death. Be on the lookout to listen in on any information that might lead to Suge having prior knowledge of the shootout. Before Pac's death, he had threatened to leave Death Row Records, but had also given the label over 200 of his unreleased songs. If this was an inside job, Suge would have been planning this for months, and could also lead to unsolved questions about the murder of the notorious B.I.G. To top it off, Suge has also been releasing albums by Pac ever since his death, while making profit. Unfortunately, during that time, the LAPD was accused of a cover-up and said that they couldn't answer any questions due to an ongoing civil lawsuit. And the worst part is, no parties were compelled to talk to the cops during this era, so it only seemed reasonable that the LAPD wasn't able to find any hard evidence on anyone during this time. Suge Knight was also speculated to have had connections and tie-in with these cops. Detective Russell Poole of the LAPD back then was in charge of the investigation of the murder, and suspected Suge to be associated with corrupt officers in the LAPD. This was known as the LAPD Rampart scandal that took place in the 90s, where they saw 70 of their own officers charged with unlawful or unjustified crimes, including things such as shootings, framings, drug dealings, bank robberies, and any other high criminal activities. Now that I've given you this nice little guide, it's your job to go serve hip-hop justice. Tupac was and still is known as one of the greatest MCs of all time, and you're going to finally reveal the truth. Any information is going to help tremendously. It's just insane to see a successful rap artist like Sean Diddy Combs to still be at the top of his game right now, and to still be signing artists, even though he could well be the reason for the death of the greatest MC of all time. Even Suge Knight is the owner of a label called 300 Entertainment, which currently has a roster of some of the hottest artists in the game. Imagine what would happen if any of these people were to get exposed. Now, take this guide and go save hip-hop. After you complete your mission, I'm sending you to Los Angeles, California in 1997, where we're going to solve the murder behind Biggie Smalls.